Insiders, I've got a little bit tech savvy now. Welcome to Lauren the Insider. Today, we are discussing William's bold power move. But first, I wanted to address some things that I saw in the comments that I was anti royalist, that I didn't want a monarchy, that I was against William. Let me be very clear. I am pro transparency. I believe that as a company, as a country, and as a commonwealth, we do benefit from having a monarchy. Having said that, I will never refrain from using my brain. I will never refrain from being a critical thinker. And having worked in the industry for 20 years, I also know what goes on behind the scenes. So I feel that in a day and age where we're not given the truth and we are fed propaganda, and I feel that people are being given a lot of information that is simply not true, I will always challenge things. And I think that is what we should all do. I think we should question everything. And we cannot be in a situation where we are challenging the truth and other people are then gaslighting the very critical thinking that we are doing, because for too long the royal family, I believe, not all members, but I believe some of them have behaved in a terrible way. Harry and Meghan, I'm looking at you. um, Andrew and Sarah, I'm looking at you. I feel that there are many areas where the mainstream media have not pursued and have not held them accountable for. Having said that, I also do, my personal belief is that I believe Prince William and Princess Catherine, I believe they can turn things around. I think it will take drastic action, but I don't agree with what Andrew Loney said, that William, he doesn't hold much hope for William. But that's my opinion, and you will all have very different opinions. But what I want you to know is on this channel, I'm always going to push the boundaries and I'm always going to be a critical thinker, because for too long, I feel like we have been fed through the mainstream media propaganda and information whereby we are almost nurtured not to think for ourselves and to take it as gospel. So, if you look at the papers, okay, and this is why I believe we should be critical thinkers, because for too often, whether it be the government or some members of the monarchy, we the people have not been listened to and we have not been prioritized. Now, I am not pointing fingers at particular people. This is a system, and it is a system that is not and has not catered for normal people on the ground, working like donkeys, paying our taxes. And so I won't be gaslit for speaking out about these things because they're important. And I know the large majority of you are in agreement. But if you are someone that gets offended if people say something that's different to you, then I think that's not a great place to be. I would welcome you to converse with people that might have different opinions. I, for one, don't want the channel being an echo chamber. I am bringing some voices to you that you probably won't have heard of before this week. And I think it's really important that we continue to have conversations, awkward conversations, conversations other people aren't having, because this is exactly why I set this channel up. Let's challenge the narrative. Let's have those conversations and let's actually discuss news in full form instead of snippets and the over dramatization that we see. But if we go back to the very point I was making about normal people being failed, being ignored, here we go, front of the Daily Express. Grooming gang probe rigged from the start. And you know who was let down by that? Normal, white, British children. Okay? No one cared about it. Next one. Daily Mirror. COVID families moan fury. 10 million slap in the face. Anger after it's revealed firm linked to husband bought luxury Florida flat. So this absolute grifter has monetized every possible thing she could do during the pandemic, while we're all sat at home in masks with anti-bac. Oh yeah, money, money, money for her Florida apartment. And this is the thing, the majority of us are probably law-abiding citizens, good people. But these people, the elites, they live in a different world and we fund it. And I'm sick of it. And then we've got this one. Oh, let's start with this. Okay. The top story is Secrets of 90s Girl Band. So, this story is about top record label chiefs telling members of All Saints when they were pregnant to abort their pregnancies. Okay. So, that's people in power yet again weaponizing it for money. Yet again, it's just sickening. And then we've got Prince two pads after Harry and Meg spent 2.4 million on Frogmore. I still can't get over that. 2.4 million. Now workmen go in to prepare for shamed Andy, Costmore Cottage. And then we've got this old fool wanting two houses. So, in summary, I will always challenge it. I do believe that William can turn things around with the monarchy, but I do think it will take drastic action. Having said that, I am your ears, eyes, and feet on the ground. That is going to challenge everything. And I would always urge you all to as well. I think it's brilliant that we can all be critical thinkers. So, if you like the little graphic at the start, like, comment, and subscribe. And Andrew's getting it today. Right, let's go. Oh, see, I knew there would be a technical glitch. I'm just not made out for the technical life. Hang on. And anyone that moans, oh, stop talking about technical stuff. If you knew how hard I found this, you'd understand. Right. William's ultimatum. William's threat to strip Eugenie and Beatrice of titles unless Andrew and Fergie left Lodge. What I think is interesting about this, insiders, is this rings true to me because the way in which this story has come out is through Emily Maitlis. Now, I'm personally no fan of her. She's a cheeky little lefty, but won't hold that against her. I think she should have given her Press Gazette award back for the shambolic interview with Andrew, which we now know because he told porcupines the whole way through. Anyhow, let's look at this piece because what's very interesting, we start with Fergie's friends painting her as a victim. Fergie's friends told the Daily Mail last night. Fergie's friends called them up and said, oh, could you help, please? Getting terrible press. Can't get any money from Epstein, so I'm just going to have to sell some stories. Allegedly. Fergie's friends told the Daily Mail last night how the former Duchess feels she has nowhere to go or anyone else to go with as negotiations rumble on over her and Andrew's future. Speaking on the newsagent's podcast, Maitlis discussed the media circus that erupted outside Royal Lodge on Thursday night after journalists were tipped off about a possible development in the Prince Andrew scandal. Hinting at what it could have been, she said there was a question over whether there had been earlier in the day a meeting between Prince William and the princesses, Beatrice and Eugenie, saying, you guys have to get your dad to move out of Royal Lodge. Otherwise, we will start re-examining the state of your own titles. Oh, that would be fantastic. They are at the moment allowed to be princesses, but there was a bit of pressure, we understand, being put on the princesses to say this is going to happen. Obviously, you can see why Andrew, as a father, would want to keep their daughters happy and keep their titles in place come what may. I'm just going to interject here, but we're paying the rent on their flat. So I think most of us don't feel that they actually contribute that much. So I don't quite know what they would do with the titles. I'd personally like to see them stripped of them so they can stop using them to coin in money in the Middle East for personal gain. That's what it looks like to me. What we learned What was going to happen on Thursday was that Charles, fresh from the Vatican and his audience with the Pope, was going to come via Royal Lodge to be seen, in other words, reading the Riot Act to his brother. Okay, so this is what you need to know. Emily Maitlis is quite establishment. So, very often, I believe that the palace will use people like Emily to get certain narratives out because she is a very recognizable face, a very listened to name, but those are the facts. And so it's very, very common for the palace to just throw a few little narratives out to people just to get the word on the street out. So let's have a look at the clip because there are lots of clues in this from Emily. Hang on.
Over whether there had been earlier in the day
Oh,
a meeting
oh God.
between Prince William and the
Right.
princesses Beatrice and Eugenie.
Let's pretend that bit didn't happen. So, guys, what we're going to do is have a look at this clip now.
There was a question over whether there had been earlier in the day a meeting between Prince William and the princesses Beatrice and Eugenie, saying, you guys have got to get your dad to move out of Royal Lodge, otherwise we will start re-examining the state of your own titles, i.e. they are at the moment allowed to be princesses, but there was a bit of pressure, we understand, being put on the princesses to say, this is going to happen. And obviously you can see why Andrew as a father would want to kind of keep his daughters happy and keep their titles in place come what may. What happened, I understand, was that the palace then got very nervous, and when they saw the choppers and the helicopters, they thought, oh, this has all got too big, this has, got out of control. They cancelled the whole thing. The palace told us to go down there, then they chickened out when broadcasters sent massive resources, including the chopper. It was all a bit bonkers. Now Buckingham Palace are angry with us, saying the media created a circus, so they called off whatever was going to happen. And then this person puts, the circus was all of their own making.
I would far rather get destroyed in the...
Oh, I don't know how that video of Harry ended up. Sorry, I just took the video off TikTok. But this is what I wanted to say to you. Emily Maitlis said within that video that the story about being at Royal Lodge, getting the picture, Charles driving past, reading the Riot Act to Andrew, this had been leaked by the palace. You've heard it from Emily. And so, what I am saying to you is just be really aware there is lots going out. Personally, I would be ignoring the majority of it aside from William, because less is more with William. This is what I've always said. And he is very smart. He doesn't act in anger, he doesn't act in emotion. He is very good at strategizing and he doesn't sweat the small stuff. So, whereas you see Harry lash out lots, get really angry all the time, or Meghan putting stuff on social media in the heat of the moment, you don't see that from William. And so I absolutely believe that William has done this because when you look at how the narrative came out, it was through Emily Maitlis, who is very establishment. And also, it is in line with how William has stepped into this saga the entire time. So we also see the Sun, Will's warning. Prince William threatened to remove Beatrice and Eugenie titles if Andrew and Fergie did not leave Royal Lodge. And then we see here, workmen have been seen for weeks at the Adelaide cottage, which the Sussexes spent 2.4 million on in 2019. There has been renewed activity at the Grade 2 listed property where Andrew's daughter, Princess Eugenie, briefly lived. Meanwhile, William and Catherine are due to leave Adelaide Cottage next month. Neither house would need renovations or cost taxpayers more on security as they lie within the Windsor Castle security perimeter. So, this is interesting because you can guarantee that by the time Prince William and Princess Catherine move in, this is all going to be dealt with without a doubt. And this is what's very clear. It's bold, clear, strong action from William. And I want to just rewind to the point about there being builders in the cottage and everything like that. I have told you frequently that press narratives do not roll out in real time. So, William, without question, will be working on future steps he's taking. That may be stripping Harry and Meghan of their titles. But what the palace will never do, and what any PR will never do, they're never going to give you the whole platter straight away, because then there's no story. And if out of nowhere we suddenly got news that William is stripping all of the titles and he's thrown Andrew out of Windsor grounds, it would all seem quite extreme. Granted, it's what people want. However, part of it is going on a journey as well with William, if that makes sense. So it's about his comms team will be drip feeding, like I always say, drip, drip, drip. The drip narrative is coming out. So I think we can, let's put William back up. I think we can absolutely be sure that William is going to take firm action, because he is reading the room. And this is unprecedented because he is not king, but he knows that Charles has done too little too late and is widely perceived as a very weak king. So, guys, that is your nugget. Hang on. Oh, goodness me. Right. Here we go. Pretend you didn't see that. That is your nugget for today. I hope you're enjoying the episodes. And I wanted to suggest something to you, and you could tell me if you would enjoy it. I was going to pick a couple of stories every morning and give you behind the headlines on them. So I will keep royal and political stories separate. On the day that there may not be news that I feel is worth sharing, I simply won't do a video. But I have a 2-year-old this weekend and a 4-year-old. And so my time is having to be allocated in advance. So if that is something you would like, let me know. I can then factor it in around the children, record them, and put them out each afternoon. And like I say, if there is a lot of fake news flying about, I may just do a different subject, because I don't want to be doing shows on gossiping and all of that. I want to bring you clear news. So in a sea of misinformation, you can cut through and hopefully always leave my channel wiser and knowing how to decipher the wheat from the chaff, so to say. So please comment, like, and subscribe. I am absolutely loving bringing you all of these news items, and I am developing some interviews with some really amazing voices. So they will be rolling out from next week onwards. Now, here's the bit where hopefully it's going to work okay. So we pretend we can't see me now. Hang on. No, rewind. Hang on.